I developed the domain rubric, or the Emergent writing rubric, specifically for kindergarten and first grade teachers because, to the best of my knowledge at this time, there really is nothing on the commercial market for kindergarten and first grade teachers to use to assess their children's emergent writing development. It serves as a tool. As I often say to teachers, without assessment we have random acts of teaching. So the important part is for the teachers to give the child or the children a little writing sample, score those writing samples using the rubric in order to determine what they are going to teach next and what the children's needs are. I was working with teachers and at a time period when the state of Pennsylvania was instituting quite a few assessments for children and for students. And the first time that our students in the state of Pennsylvania must take a writing assessment is in 5th grade. But what we discussed and talked about and discovered as a group of teachers was that by the time the children got to 5th grade, it was a little bit too late to start teaching them how to write and compose narrative and expository and persuasive text at that point, that we really had to start much earlier. So I started working with kindergarten and first grade teachers to help them teach young children how to compose written pieces. What we early on discovered was that the rubric, or the scoring guide that was being used for 5th grade students, was much too difficult and much too advanced for the emergent writings that we had for kindergarten and first grade children. Consequently, because of that necessity, I developed an emergent scoring domain rubric that could be used by kindergarten and first grade teachers. Over the course of quite a few number of years, and in particular during the past 3.5, I continued to fine-tune that particular rubric and run inter-rater reliability studies on it with kindergarten and first grade teachers to determine whether or not it would be a reliable tool for them to use. And indeed, it is. So over the course of the past 3 years, I've looked at approximately 500 children's writing samples to include in this book that has about 30 of them in there. And they range from children's emergent writings, which are scribbles, up through when they begin to write individual letters to represent words, as well as writing words that may or may not be correctly spelled, up through writing 1 sentence to 2 sentences and longer, sometimes as many as 6 to 8 sentences by the end of 1st grade. The areas that we look at on the domain rubric are letter formation. There is a great deal of research that is out there right now, especially some of the brain research, that is connecting the importance of children being able to form manuscript letters accurately and fluently with automaticity in order to help them become better readers. There's a great brain connection there that takes place. There's something that is going on in the brain creating a neural pathway when the children are actually physically in the process of forming their letters. So at a time period when many schools are eliminating manuscript and cursive handwriting instruction, the brain research is telling us that schools really need to be doing this much more frequently. The domain rubric also looks at students' ability and knowledge and understanding of capitalization and punctuation, spacing and why we put spaces in between words and sentences. It looks at their spelling development, their style development, which looks at sentence structure and their word choice, and lastly, their content development, which looks at whether or not their writing has a beginning, a middle, and an end with some substantial content and meaning. When children initially start writing, they may write only a letter or two to represent the words that they want to say because their spelling skills have not yet developed. So sometimes it's necessary for the teacher to ask the child to read back the message that was written. And when they do that, teachers usually will write the child's message on a little post-it note and attach it to the writing sample. And then indeed it is quite possible to score it using the domain rubric. And you can very much see that children's writing has intention, that it carries meaning, and that they very much have something that they want to say and talk about. But sometimes they're just not skilled enough to get it down on a piece of paper so that it looks like traditional writing the way we as adults would interpret it or look at it.